I would say that we are working with the government. We've been 3 years trying to improve the system that we got. We are getting there. I think eventually we should get there. It's not going to be like 100% because we know that Gibraltar, due to the traffic and all that, it's very difficult. But even though we are really trying and we're working in conjunction with the government, we do know that we're not 100%. So we do concur with the Chambers of Commerce. But anyway, there's lots of problems all around Gibraltar. We know this is a big issue because tourism for Gibraltar, it's a main income. We are really trying to get the service there, and there's still lots of bits and pieces apart from our service that would help us around.
Okay, and what are some of those bits and pieces that have to be put in place in order to improve the service?
For example, we got the airport. The airport, we, in conjunction with the government, it's our main issue to get everybody out of the airport as soon as possible. But for example, I go up, pick up, and then I take, maybe they tell me to Europa Point. I take the customer to Europa Point, and that easily will take me at least about 20 minutes to get there. And then another 20 minutes to come down. And maybe I get down and there's the barrier down again. So it's another 20 minutes plus. So to go back to the airport to pick my second fare, we are talking about maybe roughly about 45 minutes. And then the customers tell me, where have you been?
The tourist or even the Gibraltarian customer listening to you might sympathize with some of what you're saying, but he or she might say, but at the end of the day, I need a taxi.
We still have the problem. I'm with you. But things take time. It's like, for example, the tunnel. The tunnel, we've been waiting for the tunnel for over 5 years now. I think that would do a lot of good for Gibraltar in the traffic sense. We are working closely with Mr. Balban, and we're doing the best we can. And we know things take time. Unfortunately, in Gibraltar, things do take time. We know that Gibraltar is a small place. How can I take 45 minutes to drop a fare and come back?
Okay, let me also go back on some of the other issues. You mentioned how there was this agreement with the government in 2013 to improve the service. And some of the points there, for example, there was two things that I saw. One was having a dress code for taxi drivers, and another was the introduction of a citizens or a passengers charter. Has either of those two things happened in the last 3 years?
The dress code has always existed. That has existed since my father was a taxi driver, and we're talking about 40, 50 years ago. I've been a driver for 29 years, and more or less, I think I look well the way I'm dressed. We're not going to come here dressed with a jacket. It's too hot.
And what about the customer or the client's charter?
The client's charter, that should have already been done. We actually did the shelters in most of the taxi ranks. So that should have been done already because we got a special designated area in each shelter. So that's coming.
Well, another point that the Chamber of Commerce made in their statement is that fares have actually gone up by 50%, and they say that if there's going to be an increase in fares, there should be a corresponding increase in the service.
Fair enough. At least it's been at least 4 years, at least since the fares haven't gone up. Fair enough. Okay. Before, for example, I used to do a fare from the frontier to Casemates, and it used to be £3.40. Okay, and nowadays it's £4. So we're talking about 60 pence on a rise. So at least in 3 years, I think that's quite reasonable, because every year everything goes up due to the actual cost of living, and we're talking that they are about maybe 10 pence every year. So what we decided to do, instead of putting it up every year, we decided to put it every 5 years, for example.